Welcome back to my channel. This is my February wrap-up. I'm going to discuss all the books that I read during the month of February. It was quite an interesting month because books that was on my TBR, I looked at it and I didn't read it. Books that I wasn't expecting to read, I read and enjoyed. And then there were books that were on my TBR and I'm like, I was just going through them. Like, this was a really fantastic reading month. So I read 17 books, actually 17.5. I'm still reading one. So if you want to see what books I enjoyed this month, what unexpected books that I picked up, books that I wanted to read that I did not enjoy, books that I thought I would enjoy, but they just fell flat, keep watching. Give this video a thumbs up, and if you have not subscribed yet to my channel, subscribe babes, subscribe bestie. Let's start off with this series. So I'm listening to the audiobook. I read books 1 to 3 in this series, or was it 1 to 4? 1 to 3. I finished books 1 to 3 in February. Shatter Me, Unravel Me, and Ignite Me. We meet Juliet, Aaron, Adam, Kenji. We meet a lot of friends in this series and I am eating it up. Okay, I went into this series basically blind. I had no idea. I did not read any reviews. I had the book, I had the audio book, and I'm like, why not just? So this was this on my TBR? No, it was not. This wasn't even a thought to read, but I picked it up and I am loving it. This is your young adult dystopian romance, and we meet Juliet. She is in an asylum. She thinks that she's going crazy. She has these powers and she feels as though she is a monster. There are a lot of like self-destructive thoughts happening in this book. You really get into the mind of Juliet. Things are happening in this dystopian world where you have this re-establishment, which is an organization that came in to try to save the world. Basically, they had these promises that they made to people, and it was basically a group of ex-militants that took over the world. And we meet the person that's in charge of North America. Juliet is 17 and her whole life, it's not what she think it is. There's so much to unpack in this story as you read through it, but Shatter Me is basically about Juliet's fragmented mind and Aaron wanting to control her, wanting to use her as a weapon. We meet Adam and he's an officer under Aaron, and he went in there basically to pretend to be her friend, basically to pretend to be a cellmate, and as soon as she started to kind of open up, all hell broke loose. There's so much to unpack. You have a rebel organization called Omega Point, and they are basically working together to try to bring down the re-establishment. For me, I really like the plot in the series, and it just keeps unraveling. It just keeps giving us more. I love her writing. This book is not for everyone. Tahereh, Mafi, her writing style in this book, it is not for everyone. Some people are not going to get it. There are a lot of metaphors used in this book. I personally enjoyed the prose in this book. I was totally invested because of the writing. The writing style for me was so different that I didn't have a choice but to be kept engaged. And because we saw how fragmented Juliet's mind was and the world building that was taking place in Shatter Me, I was hooked. I was hooked listening to the audiobook. Then we have book 2, which is Unravel Me, and we saw where things slowly shifted. They are at Omega Point. They got away. She did what she had to do. Adam did what he had to do. And so they are now at Omega Point, and she's learning about this resistance. She's not really a part of it. She doesn't understand the power that she has and like how she can contribute to the resistance. It's like she's so naive. She doesn't see it as her problem. She doesn't see that she is a part of anything until like book 3, when Omega Point is destroyed, and when she realizes that a lot of people that she started to connect with, that she started to care about, are now dead. They are now unalived because of the power and the strength of the re-establishment. This series I am so enjoying. We have Ignite Me. Things really pick up between Aaron and Juliet in this book. So you heard me with Adam, and now you're hearing Aaron. Yes, we're getting a young adult love triangle. Yeah, I wasn't expecting that, to be quite honest. Did I enjoy this book? Did I enjoy the love triangle aspect? Did I enjoy the enemies to lovers? Yes, I enjoyed this so much. I think I gave this book 4 stars, and I gave Unravel Me and Ignite Me 5 stars. I really enjoyed those books. If you were hesitant about starting this, go start it. Go start it. You Could Do Damage by Casey Mills. This was on my February TBR. I got to it. I read it. I like it, but I'm not in love with it. It did end on a cliffhanger, and this is your arranged marriage / marriage of convenience. The two are very much married together, and I'll get into that. I gave this book 3 stars. Like, I like it to the point where I will read the second book, but I'm not in love with it. In You Could Do Damage, we meet Nari and Kincaid. Nari, she has just been taken for a loop. She has just been tossed on her behind by her cousin. So she just literally became homeless. She works in a gentleman's club, and there she meets Kincaid. She's been harassed, and he comes to her rescue like a knight in shining armor. It was giving a bit of damsel in distress vibes, which I'm okay with as a trope, but again, it still fell flat. So they met, and he makes a proposal to her. He's currently arranged to marry someone else, and something came to light. He's part of a crime organization. He found a loophole, and to get out of that arranged marriage with that particular family, he can marry someone else, and he chooses her. And given that she's in a situation like, hello, if I sign this legal document, I get 500,000, and then once we're married, I get another 500,000. So you're telling me you're giving me $1 million to marry you. Over time, the story started to feel flat. There was no excitement. There was no emotional depth to the characters. Yes, it's an arranged marriage. Yes, we don't expect them to fall in love, but at least to have some type of emotional depth with each of the characters would have been good. Like, to get tension, I didn't feel that. Like, the author, she tried, but I did not feel that. So I guess that was my reason for giving this like 3 stars, because the story was okay, but the emotional depth that I love in my book, that I love to read and feel with the characters, it wasn't there. It wasn't there. Then we had the trope of miscommunication, and this pissed me off. This pissed me off towards the end. Like, I was just upset. I seriously, I was just upset. I was so disappointed with this book. Yo, but man, these these two books was everything this month. So yes, I had some ups, I had some downs, but then I had some ups again. And this, oh my gosh, these two books are just, they're everything. They are everything. Let's start with Blockshot by Kennedy Ryan. This is your friends to enemies to lovers. Okay, this is a second chance. We have ambitious couple here. We have a power couple here, and I eat it up. In this book, we meet Jared and Banner. And at first I was like, what kind of name is Banner? Banner? What kind of name is that? But that is not even the point. Jared and Banner, oh my goodness, the tension. They are in college together, and something very terrible happens that really alter and change their friendship. And she is going to be a sports agent. They both want to be the same thing. However, he has no heart and hers is too big. And so we meet up with them 10 years after that horrible night that just changed everything. 10 years later, she's the it girl. When it comes to sports management and being able to sign athletes, she's it. She's the big gun in a field which is highly dominated by men. And then we have Gerard. He's doing the same thing. He is also a powerhouse. However, he goes in like a pit bull when it comes to that. And now that they're in the same city, after not seeing each other for 10 years, now they're seeing each other continuously. She just recently started a relationship with someone that she signed, one of her best friends. And things just starts to go downhill because Jared, he's like, I'm not going to give up. Like, I want you. And I don't care if you're in a relationship. I'm not going to give up. Yo. What I love about this particular book was that we explored Banner's like insecurities, her vulnerability, and all of that was explored. You feel for her and you really understand and you can empathize with what she went through and what she's going through and what she's doing. So I really enjoyed that. And something else that I really appreciated was, yes, you have a curvy heroine, but he appreciated her and loved her in her skin. Like, he never saw her as the chubby girl or the fat girl. He saw her as someone that is confident, someone that is strong, someone that can hold her own. Those are the characteristics that attracted Jared to Banner. So I really like that. Yes, he was a very jealous individual, but you know, we like that in our hero. What I enjoyed about this book was that what people saw as a weakness, he saw it as a strength for Banner, in the sense that yes, she had a heart, she empathized, and he loved this about her. He didn't see it as her being too soft or naive or anything like that. He saw the love that she genuinely had for others, the fact that she wanted to see other people become successful. That's what she wanted. Y'all, this book, it was everything. It was everything. Hookshot. Hookshot was fantastic as well. So we have an NBA player, we have a fashion designer, we meet Lotus, and she's Iris' cousin, and we met Iris in Longshot. And Kenan, he is recently divorced. He is a single dad, and he is just trying to get over his relationship, like the fact that he was cheated on. And Lotus, she is dealing with some deeply rooted childhood trauma, and because of that, she finds it difficult to become emotionally attached in her relationship. For her, everything is physical, and so she decides that, listen, I no longer want this. This is no longer it for me. And he's like, listen, I just came out of a relationship. I don't want anything too deep. But this book, it explores intimacy like no other. Because I feel sometimes in romance books, like the hot sexiness, that gets thrown in our face so much, but this here, it talks about intimacy, and because of that you are so drawn into Kenan and Lotus. And then we have like Bible scriptures and stuff like that. I really appreciated that in this book. This entire series, it is phenomenal. And then we had we had his ex. Hello, ma'am, you did what you did. Move on. Leave the man alone. Leave Lotus alone. This was it. This, I ate this up. I ate this up. So I received an advanced copy of Hush 3 by Blue Saffire, and in this book we meet Sim, or Symphony, and Michael. Michael is being groomed by his older brother, Yuri. He was introduced in either book 1 or book 2. I did not read book 1 or book 2. I just went into book 3 and I was fine. Do I think I would have enjoyed the book more if I read the previous books in the series? Yes. Do I recommend that you read the previous books in the series before you read book 3? That is also a yes. We meet Michael. Michael is being groomed. He goes on this assignment and he meets Sin. Sim, she is 14 at the time. There's like a 3 to 5 year age gap between them. They go on an assignment to rescue her. It was a much bigger situation than they thought, and for some reason Michael was able to connect with Symphony on a different level because she has autism, and he picked up the signs of autism, and so he was able to communicate with her in a way that no one else could. And so they formed this bond before she was even returned to her family. And there was an arranged marriage. Was there anything intimate between them? No. Yo, she was 14. What do you think? What do you think? And then we see as they grow up, we see where Symphony has a lot to deal with when she tries to live a normal life. We saw where she became an assassin. Like anything this girl put her mind to, she excelled at it. I loved the suspense in this book. I loved the drama in this book. I enjoyed the action scenes in this book. I liked the mystery in trying to solve who was doing what. Honestly, like, it took them so long to deal with the problem. I think that's the only thing that annoyed me. They took too long to deal with the problem. But during that time, it allowed Michael and Symphony, aka Sim, to grow and find out who they were, to become adults. Something else that I enjoyed about this one was that the chemistry you can feel. Okay, and that is something that you need in a romance. Yo, you need to feel the chemistry. What is a romance without chemistry? It's not a romance. This was also on my February TBR. I got to books on my TBR. 10,000 Hours with a Menace by Jacquel J. This book was one of my favorites. When I tell you I devoured this book, I ate up this book. This book was what I thought it would be. There were some surprises. There were things that shocked me, but so let me tell you about this book. We meet Menace and Stevie in this book. Stevie, she has ADHD, but she is just like really clueless, which I think was the only thing that was a bit of a turn off, but it wasn't a turn off to the point where I didn't like the book or I didn't like her as a character. She was just like really naive in a way. But Stevie, she's living in her bubble. She had to deal with that at a young age, having to live on her own and just figure out life without her mom. She has abandonment issues. She has this friend, and this friend was like, oh, do you want to go on this trip? She's like, oh yeah, let's go on this vacation. And Stevie's like, yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. She goes on the trip and then she gets kidnapped. Because why? Her friend was stealing money from a mafia family. And so her friend literally placed her up on a platter to try to save herself. Your friend, okay, your friend offered you up so that she could save herself. And someone else that I'm not even going to mention because it's going to piss me off. It's going to piss me off. But and Menace, he realizes something immediately. And so they come up with this arrangement where she marry him and she gets to save their life because she doesn't want her friend and this other person to die, you know. So, okay, I'll marry you. And then we have Menace. He has ADHD as well as OCD. They are completely different people. He is very structured and she isn't. This man, he doesn't do anything spur of the moment. What I enjoyed about this book was, one, he took on a date to the cemetery to spend time with his dead parents. Yeah, I said it. I also love his proposal. The fact that this man went down on his knees. He has OCD. He has OCD. And he went down on his knees. This book was amazing, in my opinion. I ate it up. The book had drama. The book had humor. The book had romance. We have diverse characters. We have neurodivergent characters and neurodivergent love, right? We have this arranged marriage. It was phenomenal. Seeing both of them interact and the banter between them was chef's kiss. I read A Beautiful Vengeance by Kenya Wright. This was on my TBR. I think I did good, y'all. I think I did well when it came to reading books off of my TBR. There were 4 books in my February TBR that I did not read, but outside of that, I think I did well. In this book, we meet Lay and Monique. Lay, he's about to be the head of the East crime family. That being said, what he had to do in order to be the next in line is horrific for any child. This book is really centered on Lay and the fact that Lay is going to unalive his father for what he did. And then Monique, her mom recently died, and as the oldest sibling, she's working to her bones to take care of her younger siblings. And so one morning she's like, bang, 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 her father stole money from a crime group and they gave her 24 hours to come up with the money. Otherwise, they're putting her and her younger siblings to work the streets. And so she goes looking for her father and meets up Lee's dad, who has no qualms about giving her the money. It's like, yeah, I'll just give you the money. This is a slow burn. You saw where his father basically put her in place to meet Lee. This guy had her handcuffed to him. He had her handcuffed to him. You don't get a slow burn from Kenya, right? But this was a slow burn, but the tension was there. And I love that this was a slow burn because of the way that they met. They really needed to get to know each other. They really needed to spend time with each other. I am excited to read book 2, and I did read book 2. I read book 2 because it was released on March 1st, but I'll review it when I do my March wrap-up. I read No Ordinary Love by Maya Ariel. I really enjoyed this one. It took me by surprise. In this book, we meet Ella, and Ella wants to file for a divorce. She is tired of her husband's infidelity. However, her husband is also her manager and producer. But she's tired of it, and because of that connection, it's a bit tricky for her to get out of that relationship. He wants to be controlling, he wants to be manipulative because he signed her when she was pretty young. And she feels like she has no choice, but she's totally fed up now. And then we have Miles. He is a football superstar who was recently hurt, who recently came out of a relationship because his ex cheated on him with a co-worker, and that just became a national fiasco. So they both aren't really looking for anything, but my goodness, you felt the emotional tension, you felt the chemistry, you felt the attraction there. There is this scene in this book. Yo, this scene in this book. It is a slow burn, but oh my goodness, there's this scene when I'm not going to spoil it for you. No. This is a messy, this is a raw, this is an emotional read. But it's so beautiful. It is so beautiful. I think what stood out for me in this book was Ella, and the fact that she showed so much resilience and that she reclaimed her power, y'all. To reclaim that power from that ex, that was so like inspiring, and it really had me cheering for her, because we saw where her confidence, it grew, because he held her back so much. Now that she was set free, we saw her blossom and grew into the woman that she should have been all along. Now this book was so unexpected. Like, I had no idea that I would be given an advanced copy of My Alien Dragon Baby Daddy, and this is by Kenya Gori Bell, writing as Christy Cash. This book was hilarious. It was hilarious. This is your sci-fi romance. This is obviously a surprise baby, an unexpected pregnancy, but I'm jumping the gun. So we have Eva. Eva, she loves children. She and her sister and her cousin started this business, and they are just chilling home on a Friday night. So just imagine you're home, you're relaxing, you're watching a movie, and then you hear this weird noise. And you go to check it out, only to realize you see aliens in your home. And what did Eva do? Eva ran. Eva ran, and I'm like, yo, go girl. I'm like, go. She ran, and I was just cheering her on, because she did not freeze up and like, no. She was like, hell no, I'm getting out of there. Like, I loved Eva in this book. Yes, she gets kidnapped. Yes, there's this fated mate attraction between them, but it's something that she fought. And then we have the MMC Chaka, and he is this 7 foot tall purple alien guy with scales. And I'm like, dude, you're not sexy. In my mind, I'm like, dude, you're not sexy. Obviously, like, purple is not one of my favorite colors, but that's besides the point. He is next in line to rule their planet. Their planet went through a war, and because of this interplanetary war, the females were left being unable to reproduce. And so tests were done, and they realized that the closest species that they could reproduce with is with human women. And so that's where they came up with this plan to snatch the humans and carry them to their planet so that they could reproduce. And Eva is the first one to give birth to that mixed species. This is the first book in the series, and I will say, first of all, I was shocked that I enjoyed it. Alien romances or monster romances, it's not my thing. If you want something that's fun, quick, relaxing, will get you a bit upset at certain points, because the MMC, he had me upset, because I'm like, listen dude, listen, it's a human. You need to learn how to deal with a woman. On top of that, it is a black woman. You need to be prepared. You should have studied, right? You should have studied how to treat a black woman. How, at least learn to attempt to communicate. Okay? At least learn to attempt to communicate. He just needed to learn how to deal with a strong woman, like a strong-willed woman. And I love that. Y'all know I love a strong, feisty, sassy woman in my books. Y'all, I read this. I cannot remember if this was on my TBR. I feel like this was on my TBR. The Blood Trials by N.E. Davenport. This is like your sci-fi fantasy romance. It is not a young adult. In this book we meet Ikenna and she's dealing with the death of her grandfather. That was the only family that she knew. She has no one else, and so she decides to drink her life away because there is no point in being a part of the blood trials. There's nothing. And then a close family friend hints that the way that her grandfather died, it may have been foul play. Because of this, she is very insistent in being a part of the blood trial. This is also a society that, one, frowns upon women, two, frowns upon skin color. So the political climate of this book, it's not in favor of someone that is black. She sets out to be a part of the blood trials just so that she could take down the person who is suspected of killing or unaliving her grandfather. It turns out that her enemies were her friends and her friends were her enemies. Book 1 really focuses on the blood trials, the different assignments that they had to go through. These are grueling assignments. These are not just your regular trials. Like, this is to the death. And then in the blood gift is where we really see her gifts manifest, and she's betrayed by people and she betrays people, but we really see her use her gifts for the greater good. In this book, she and her friends that band together, they are basically on the run for what they did. But we see a lot more like magical things come, more fantasy things about different gods and the gods that came to earth and stuff like that. I didn't really particularly enjoy that aspect of the book, but I did enjoy the banter, the communication, the fact that she's a strong-willed heroine, that she was willing to fight for the greater good, that she was willing to sacrifice herself for the greater good. I lived for the action scenes in this book. Another thing that I didn't really like about the blood gift was the way that it ended. Like, the last 20% of the book, it was so rushed. Like, this could have easily been a trilogy. Book 1 was well done. Loved book 1. Book 2 started off really good, but the ending was so rushed because it introduced another plot in the book, and I'm like, why don't we have another book? I absolutely loved this book. Besides the ending and all these gods coming to earth and stuff like that, I feel that because it was introduced in this book and it wasn't mentioned in book 1, that threw me off. Had those things been introduced in the blood trials, I might have been more open to it in the blood gift. But we saw all these things with gods appearing in the blood gift, and I'm like, yo, this wasn't here before. Like, what's up with that? But besides that, it is a really good sci-fi fantasy duology. The next book that I read is One in a Million by Beverly Kendall. This is my first time reading anything by this author. I did receive an advanced copy of this book. I enjoyed it. I believe I gave this book 4 stars. So we have the unexpected baby trope, we have messy celebrity mom, we have chaos and mess in this book. So we meet Whitney, and Whitney, she is a celebrity. She's like singer, model, business entrepreneur. Like, she has everything going for her. However, she has like a medical condition, and so she saves her eggs. The last thing she's expecting is to get a call indicating that there was a mix-up with her eggs and her eggs was used, and now she has a 6-month-old baby. Then we meet the father, Miles. He's married, and he's like, listen, this is my kid. I don't want to give up my kid. I don't want to lose my kid. So he's doing everything that he could possibly do to hold on to his daughter because he knows her mom is a celebrity. His wife, she files for a divorce. When things come to light in this book, his ex-wife, she deserved the guillotine for what she did. It wasn't right. The relationship between Whitney and Miles was really nice. It took some while to develop. It wasn't rushed. I enjoyed the pace of the book. I enjoyed the writing. It was like really simple to read. I felt for the couple. Like, I really felt for Miles and Whitney. Like, the author did a really good job in penning their emotions so that it was relatable. I was able to understand his frustration and his fear and the love that she had for this daughter that she didn't know she wanted. It's a really, really, really good book. It's told from both point of views, and some of the tropes in this particular book, you have like forced proximity, you have grumpy sunshine, again, the celebrity trope, as well as unexpected baby. This one I do recommend you read when it's released. This book was the first book that I read in the month of February, The Problem with Falling by Brittany Cherry. And this is book 3 in the Problem series. I read all the books in the Problem series. This is the only interracial books. The other books in the series were black romances. This book is told in the first person from multiple point of views. So we have, it's a small town romance, enemies to lovers, okay, grumpy sunshine, forced proximity, and it is definitely a slow burn. In this book we meet Willow. Willow, she's very much your free spirit, but that is just for show. Willow goes to the small town to plan this wedding anniversary for her friend who is a senior citizen. She is going to stay with Theo. Theo has no clue, but she shows up, and then all hell breaks loose because Theo, he's very much secluded. He is very much grumpy. He has abandonment issues, and so he doesn't communicate well. He has been burnt before, so he's very cautious of who he lets around him. And so we see where Willow slowly chops away of that rough, unfeeling exterior, that shell, that wall. She just knocks it down with her personality. But Theo also sees that she's hiding something from her past. So we have some healing that takes place with both of them. This book will make you cry though. It touches on some things and it really, really broke my heart. But that's just Brittany Cherry. She's gonna give you something emotional, something heart-wrenching in her book. I received an advanced copy of Just Our Luck by Denise Williams. This is your rom-com, and we meet Selby and Kieran. Selby, she went on a date. Her date never showed up, and so she decides, you know what, I'm just gonna go to the bakery, I'm gonna get some donuts. She had like a few drinks, and so she was there just chatting it up with our MMC in a bakery during late hours of the night. And Kieran, being the person that he is, he stood there and they spoke and they had a really good time. They connected to the point where she ran out and she left her winning lotto ticket. And so a plan was formulated so that she could come back and retrieve her ticket, because indeed the ticket that she left had the winning lotto numbers. And that's how they reconnect. Okay, we have like a fake dating in this book because the story that was spun to get her to come to get a ticket, it was really nice. Like, the book had potential. I just couldn't stand some of the miscommunication. I didn't like Selby's personality very much. I could not connect with her, and it had nothing to do with her having ADHD or anything like that. It was just some miscommunication that happened. I didn't feel anything for the characters, and I didn't feel any emotional depth with the characters. I didn't feel anything. It didn't give me anything. It's cute, it's adorable, but it wasn't the book for me. I love interracial romance. I love a rom-com. I love diverse characters, which we got in this book, but it felt flat for me. Honestly, this girl, she tested my patience, and there wasn't character growth at all. I read For a Price by Sienne, Vega, and this is another book that I was disappointed with. This is my first book that I'm disappointed with. For a Price just didn't do it for me. It has a good plot, good story, but in this book we meet Kate and Roman. And Kate, she's living on the streets, you know, things are hard. She grew up in foster care. She has a lot of childhood trauma, and she has these friends. And her friends, they get this job to kidnap this old guy. So they go to kidnap the guy. It turns out that the guy wasn't old, it was all a setup. And she draws the shorter straw because they leave her with him. Like, so she's there babysitting this guy. He basically can knock them out or unalive them with his bare hands. And Roman is like, okay, why did y'all do this to this little poor girl? Like, don't you guys care for her? Like, are you sure they are your friends? And he felt something for her, and he was willing to take her with him, right? Give her a better life. She didn't want that. She became paranoid, and he kidnapped her. They were having like the best of life, and then she gets kidnapped again and sold. And then he saves her. Yeah. Like, girl, how much times will you be kidnapped? You know, you grew up on the streets. Where's your street sense? Come on. Where's your spidey sense? It should have been tingling. Alright? It should have been tingling. It should have been going off. Like, bzz. The relationship between Roman and Kate, it's nice. It's cool. There's sparks there. But I didn't feel their chemistry. It wasn't explosive. Like, the spice is there, but the intimacy, I didn't feel it. I didn't feel it. For a Price wasn't my favorite book by Sienne, Vega. This is your mafia romance with some forced proximity, kidnapping, emotional trauma. This book has a lot going for it. It had a lot of things going for it. It fell flat for me. So those are all the books that I read this month. For the most part, this was a really good reading month. There were a few disappointments along the way, but that is expected. I'm not going to love every single book by some of my favorite authors or by new authors. I'm still going to continue reading their books. Just because I don't like one does not mean that I'm not going to read their other books. So there you have it. I have not done a wrap-up video in such a long time. I hope you enjoyed it. If you're going to read any of these books, let me know. Were any of these books on your TBR? Did you love a book that I didn't like? Or was there a book that I absolutely loved that you didn't? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching this video, and if you have not subscribed yet, subscribe and like this video, and I'll see you when I upload another video. Bye!